Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what is going on, everybody? We are back. Lions heading to Miami to play the Dolphins, but before we get to that, Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, thanks God it's Friday, man. It means it's the weekend.
You love the TGIFs, Grifka, but what kind of news and notes you got Lions-wise? Anything just on top of your mind, on the tip of your tongue today?
Yeah, I know this happened a few weeks ago, and I don't think we ever really discussed it. But what do you think about John Bonamingo coming back as the special teams coordinator?
So, Grifka, I think you had asked me about this before, and, everybody makes a big deal. The only time you notice them is when people take it to the heezy, when a guy drops a punt, when the guy snaps it over the guy's head. Bonamingo, he seemed to do well, I guess, when he was here. He was kind of respected. He went to college. Now he's coming back. I don't think it's a huge plus or minus, but hopefully, they're just solid in that area from a fundamental standpoint.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Remember his special teams when he was here. They seem to be, I think, in the top 10, actually, when he was the coach here, and then, went to coach as Elma Bond or, Central Michigan. Like you said, I don't think it's that big a deal anymore, especially on kickoffs. And like you said, the only time you notice is when you're expecting something regular to happen, like extra point, just cover the punt and something bad happens. So, but hopefully it's one of those things where, they cut down on the penalties like they did the second half of the year after they fired their special teams coach, and everything, the blocking on extra points, field goals, things like that, kind of, maintains where it was in the second half of the season. So, I guess it's kind of nice to have him back. One other quick question for you. I know this isn't Lions, but that new Alliance of American Football starts this weekend. I believe was it Saturday night, or so. You interested in watching any of that?
That's a good question, man. I am interested. I'm definitely gonna check it out or record it and try to catch it later. To me, it's football. And I've always agreed with why does the most popular sport in America stop, and then not come back? It's a great opportunity to continue. It just depends at what level. I'm curious to kind of look over those rosters and see if I can find, probably a couple handfuls of players that I'm interested in or that I want to keep notes on, something like that. But, hey, man, it's football. What I'm really excited about, Grifka, is the XFL in 2020. My man, Vince McMahon, that's going to be incredible. Man, all year football, I would like it. And then what I'm hoping is some of those players can show out enough to where you can pick them up, because a lot of these guys need snaps and playing time, and I think that it can provide that. So I am kind of excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I might watch it just for curiosity value, see what it is, see how the gameplay is. Maybe if the first couple weeks, and if I find it entertaining, that it actually is at least decent football, I will. I might tune in week to week to watch that, because I know even during the summertime I find myself watching Canadian football on ESPN. So I know what you mean. That it's football, and see how it is, and enjoy watching it. So. That's all I got here. How about we kind of move forward? Get into the game after an announcement that we have to go to.
Yeah, man, we're in off season, not too much going on before the calm before the storm, before we get to free agency and the draft. So let's dive right into this Dolphins Rewind and get it going.
This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Every time you kick back with Michelob Ultra, you score big. So why not reward yourself with a nice cold Ultra? As the official beer sponsor of the NBA, Enjoy Michelob Ultra at your local Buffalo Wild Wings while rooting for your favorite team during the NBA playoffs. Or pick up Michelob Ultra at your local 7-Eleven store today. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, I know going into this, we had talked about it prior, and we always talked about it being warm down there at this time of year. So my biggest headline for the game is just like Detroit beats the Heat. What they did, I was real surprised on how they came out on firing. I know right from the kickoff, the Lions, they received the ball. Dolphins won the kickoff, won the coin flip, and deferred. And that opening drive, I thought, Stafford was, on point, and probably one of the better opening drives I've seen him do in the recent years. But even like this year, it was he was sharp. It didn't seem like the wide receivers had to make a lot of miraculous catches to keep the drive going. He seemed to be very pinpoint with it. Nice mix of run and pass. I know right from the jump was that carry on run right off the edge. I want to talk about that a little later, but drove down the field. Took advantage of the bye week, I think, because I think more of those plays were scripted, able to defeat the Dolphins defense, really, kind of slice it up. And that opening drive, went down in, Matt Stafford, it's Mike Roberts on a 15-yard TD pass, to go up 7-0, roughly about 6 minutes into the game. What did you think? Did you think Stafford was really on point? We thought it was kind of the same, or I thought he looked better, even in the opening drive. What did you think, Derek?
Grifka, before I get to Stafford, we don't want to rehash the review we did during the season, but I love how you're going back to the weather again. Like, you were all over the weather before this game. I was just like, weather doesn't matter. We're a better football team. We'll come in and beat them. So I love that that's how it went down here in South Florida here against these Dolphins. But, I just have a few notes here before I get to Stafford too. I mean, one thing I noticed is that, like you said, Carry On rips off another big run to start the game. It feels like this game, Dallas, I think even had a pretty decent sized run in the Packer game that we talked about really early to start the game. He definitely has some juice, which is always awesome to see. But I agree with you. I mean, I think Stafford was looking sharp, looked like he was ready to go. He's into the football game, was able to make some throws. And then, like you say, I just have here a big Mike TD, a great high-low throw. They kind of ran a very simple concept where they kind of rolled him a little bit, I think, or he got out of the pocket. They had a guy short and a guy a little bit deeper. Stafford took the deeper guy, and Mike Robb is wide open, able to make a nice catch for a touchdown. So anytime the Lions get off to a touchdown-type start, I really feel like they do much better than when they start out real clunky and slow.
Yeah, so, just getting out in front, putting the Dolphins in the hole early, that's big. Especially, I mean, I know we had talked about it, that the Dolphins hadn't lost a game at home yet that year, and or that even though it was early in the year, they looked really good at home early in the year. So going down there, first drive, marching down the field, shredding that defense, going up 7-0, nice TD pass, that's a good way to start. And then, moving on, I know before the game they had talked about, was Albert Wilson, real fast guy for Miami. Does Detroit have enough to defend him? The week before he had a really big game, and would Detroit have an answer to stop him? It seemed like during the game they really tried to get him the ball. He got injured later on, taken out. But I know one of the plays I really liked early on where the defense was stepping up was they tried to get Albert Wilson on one of those end around, and Quandre Diggs read it perfectly. I mean, he split the gap, dropping him from like a 2-yard loss. And that it ended up, really putting the Dolphins in the hole right there. I thought it was a great play by Diggs, and that's what he, had been doing in the year, and even continued, later on in the year to continue to do that. Dolphins really didn't have an answer for anything in the rest of that first quarter. The Lions defense really stepped up, really looked really in sync and doing what needed to be done. Stopping Drake, because Drake's another one of those good running backs. Quick, shifty, and they were able to contain him in that first quarter.
Yeah, I had it marked down too. I thought both Diggs and Tees had some nice plays early, both tackling and some decent coverage in this game. It's kind of like the first glimpses here. We're still only at week 7 or so. So we knew that Diggs was probably going to play safety, and we had seen some glimpses of him the previous year. But these are kind of the early moments again of him coming into his own as a a guy that can fly around back there. If you call him a free or a strong, he's more of a in that strong safety type position. But man, he flies around and makes plays and can still cover. So I love him back there.
Yeah, and they Tease, like you said, had a couple nice plays, and especially Diggs. I was very impressed with how he played that game. Getting forcing the Dolphins, kick the ball back, get it back to Detroit. Detroit got it back again. Then going into the second quarter, just a really short drive, not a whole lot to speak of, nothing like really spectacular on it. Came out and got 3 points out of it. 29-yard field goal by Prater. Seemed to be Mr. Solid once again. With about 12 and a half left in the second quarter, put the Lions up 10-0. So made the Dolphins, once again back on the heels, have to come out to do something, to get back in the game. Which the Dolphins got the ball back, and how to put it? The Dolphins put a nice drive together, for lack of a better term. I mean, they seemed to, get their feet underneath them. They took Detroit's first punch, but they were able to come back, get their feet underneath them. I know during the drive, our friend Nevin Lawson, he had a penalty that kept the drive going. And on that drive, it ended up leading to Brock Osweiler hitting Kenny Stills, in a short pass. I think this is one of those plays where Kenny Stills, there was a small busted coverage and he just happened to be wide open. It's not like he beat anybody, making the game 10-7, roughly about halfway through the second quarter.
Hold on, Grifka. Don't just blow by that, because first of all, it was kind of a corner route where he ran to the back pylon. I've got some things in my notes here that Brock Osweiler is terrible, but he was halfway decent in some points in this game.
Was terrible. That's just funny. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely garbage. But, I mean, he made a couple nice throws. This was one of those where it was good coverage, and he just threw it to the back pylon, an absolutely perfect ball to Stills. He makes the catch. He toe taps. He scores. But you totally blew by the greatest part ever. So he catches it, he toe taps, he scores, and then he absolutely obliterates the security guard in the end zone. I'm sorry, the lady was about 65 years old, elderly lady there in the end zone. I don't know who she's stopping if somebody runs on the field, or who she's protecting from a security standpoint, but she got absolutely blown up, had to be carted off. I mean, that was probably a 20-minute delay in the game, but one of the harder hits and bigger plays by Kenny Stills in his life. So he got a touchdown and his biggest hit of his career too.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't want to bring up the injury to the security lady again. I realized she was there, and she has probably a flashlight or something like that in case anybody tries to rush the field. So, yeah, it was definitely a low point in the game for that lady right there. Having to stand there, watch the sideline, not see Kenny Stills. Just pretty much not decapitated, but run into her and take her out. From her post to the rest of the game. Hopefully, she got hazard pay for that.
Hold on, Grifka. I'm trying to find out where you're at in this game. I got some other notes that you blew by as well. Okay. So
I'm at about 7.5. Was it? I jotted down touchdown about 7.5 left in the second quarter.
Okay, because I took some notes in order here, and I got notes here saying that just in general, I feel like Matt Stafford continues to get lots of balls knocked down. That's always frustrating for me. I know he's trying to throw through windows, but it's he just keeps getting stuff knocked down, which often is on third too, which leads to punts. So that frustrated me. Then you blew by this one. Kerryon Johnson absolutely rips off a 60-some yard run, I think, down the sideline. Should have scored. He was behind the defense, and instead of just getting to the house or using his speed a little bit more, he's looking back trying to deliver that left cross / stiff arm that he uses. He ends up getting caught. I blew by. I want to
talk about the amazing Kerryon runs later, but that's okay. That's not a problem.
Okay. Well, I'm just we're working our way through this game. I don't want to miss some of these moments as we get through it. So we talked about Tease with some plays, and then I thought this was another game where Jared Davis, when he sees it and guesses right, man, he looked really fast, and played well here early on in the football game, and so that was good. And then you also, which I guess you're going to talk about later, which we can talk about again, but just going in order before we get to the Kenny Stills touchdown. Actually, this is right after the Kenny Stills touchdown, so I guess I'll just say it since I'm talking here, but. Give me your take, Grifka, on the KJ stiff arm of Kiko. He ran out to the left side, got to the sideline. Looks like, it's going to be like an 8-yard run, whatever it was. And Kiko Alonso comes over there to try to deal with number 33. And Kerryon just stiff arms him. He puts him in the ground. He just absolutely like took his face and just choke slammed him into the ground before the run was over. I thought that was incredible. I think that one runs for Good Morning Football is incredible.
This is like you said. I do want to talk about this one later, but this was going to be my next point after the Kenny Stills touchdown. This was going to be the play that I was going to go right to, because this was probably like my most favorite play of the game, mainly because during the whole first part of the game, and don't get me wrong, I like Mark Schlereth a lot. I think he's a good commentary. He does good commentary. I thought he does a pretty good color guy, but this guy was just in love with Kiko Alonso. Talking about how he's all over the field. He doesn't get enough pub. He's great. That's just like the man love that Schlereth was putting out for Kiko Alonso was amazing. And then this play happened on the screen, and he just like grabbed him and threw him to the ground. And I laughed. It's like when I remember watching the game, I actually jumped up out of my chair and like threw a fist up. I'm like, thank you. And then afterward, they're showing the replay, and Schlereth is just like, and Kiko Alonso makes a great tackle. And I'm like, great tackle? I mean, he got plowed over. I mean, it was just, that was a lawnmower going over somebody's grass. It was just, boom, he just went right over him. And then he's like trying to talk how he made the tackle. Well, I guess he got in his way and eventually fell down afterwards, but he threw him to the ground. And so just hearing all the man love for Kiko Alonso and like, Kerryon Johnson's like, yeah, I got something for you. Yeah, boom. It's like, here, hold my fago. I'm going to take you out. That's what I find amazing. But
he's trying to be the big tough guy. So seeing Kerryon put him face or take his face and put him straight on his back was tremendous.
Yeah, he punched him in the face and he took his candy and walked away.
Absolutely, man.
I did that one just for you.
Oh, it's a classic, no doubt.
But yeah, it was that was my next one. I was going to go to that, but that was part of a nice drive, is what it was, and it kept going, and once again, Stafford. I thought he looked, at that point he looked, like you said, he was getting some passes knocked down. The Dolphins were, getting to him and, getting their hands up, knocking down his passes, but still they were able to, drive down the field. And late in the second quarter, it was once again on the goal line, and LeGarrette Blount goes in for like the 2-yard gain, the 2-yard touchdown, making the score 17-7 at halftime. And to be honest with you, at this point, I really thought that this game, was going to be a runaway. And, I'm like, okay, it seemed like the Lions were hitting on all cylinders at this point. And it's like, at this point, I'm like, gosh, these guys, they're crushing these guys. And like you said, a couple seconds ago, Brock Osweiler's terrible. He wasn't looking good at all. The Lions were doing a great job on defense, holding, Kenyon Drake, keeping him in check. And Albert Wilson, he wasn't, for all of his speed that they talked about, prior, the Lions put a nice game plan together to hold him in check. And at this point in the game, what were you thinking?
Oh, again, I was just remember watching it going like, oh, Grifka was so worried about the weather. He thought like Miami was so good. And like you said that off the top about how, oh man, look at their record. Look at their home record. It's the Miami Dolphins, man, with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. They have like a half decent running back, a mid-level defense, and maybe one skill guy that gives you any type of worry. So, I was not worried about this game. I love that the team came out hot. We had talked early on in the season and throughout the season of these guys have to start better, they have to play better. So to have them come out and do that was encouraging. And then I think where you're at in the game right now is, we end up getting kind of like a short TD to LeGarrette Blount ends up being 17-7 at the half. To me, that's a good half on the road. You got to be excited about that. Yeah, we still got some time to play. But, I just feel like the Lions are playing good. They're running the football decent. They're throwing it well. Kenny G was basically non-existent, I think, in this game, but they were able to move it other ways with other guys. So it was good stuff from our team.
Yeah, and like you said, like Kenny G for what he had been done, and I remember talking about the game prior. You thought we'd have another big game, but they were hitting other guys. I think defenses were starting to like try to take Kenny G out of it, leaving other guys open at point. I know Golden Tate had a couple catches in there. Marvin Jones, same thing. Kerryon Johnson, good game. LeGarrette Blount, once again, I said it before a second, he just seemed slow and plodding. Any quickness he had, it just didn't seem to be there. Offensive line was holding up pretty well. And yeah, like you said, I was worried about the heat. I mean, they didn't have the guy standing on the sidelines with the tarps over the side, the guy sitting on the bench to, just for show. I mean, trying to keep that shade on them. So like I said, hats off to those guys who had to stand there and work their shoulders all game doing that. So I think that had to do a lot with it as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you did hit on Osweiler. I said he was terrible, and you said he was not playing well. I'm looking at his numbers now. 239 and 2 TDs, basically the same type of game that Stafford had. And the big difference, I know we've already talked about him, but 19 carries, 158 yards for Kerryon Johnson. Didn't find the end zone, but that's a huge part of this game, which I know we've talked about as we're working our way through it, but he was huge.
Yeah. And then let's move on to the second half here. Once again, Miami got the ball first, and it didn't seem like they made like a whole lot of adjustments. Going into that quarter. Once again, the Lions defense came out. Played pretty stiff, and Lions were able to get the ball back relatively quickly, and they put together a nice drive, and. What the worst part, which kind of made me shudder and like shake my head when it happened, and even rewatching the game, was the Ragnow penalty that negated the Kenny Boy touchdown. That was one of those things like, yeah, you're right, they're playing Miami, things like that, and they, ultimately they end up settling for a field goal and go up 20-7 in the game with relatively about 8.5 minutes left in the quarter. But like you said, against Miami, against some better competition, those penalties can be killers. And just shook my head, that Kenny TD, was negated, because it was a nice touchdown, and having to settle for the field goal and take the points. What do you think about that? Wiping that TD off the board and ultimately only settling for 3 points.
Yeah, man, it's frustrating just because, we talked about it in the Packer rewind that Kenny got a huge touchdown taken away in that game. I want to say that was on Ragnow too, for like a hands to the face or some kind of questionable type call that they had on that play. So, this guy had a great year, over 1,000 yards, made plays, and had 2 or 3 touchdowns throughout the year taken off the board. So always disconcerting. I always think the NFL is way too crazy with their penalties. Everything's getting way too ticky-tack now. So it was a tough moment in the game, but like you say, they were able to overcome and kind of keep putting up points and get through it. So that was good.
Yeah. And then, so they're up 27 once again, in my thought process, oh man, they're just running away with this, man. They're just marching up and down the field. And then right after that, the Dolphins show a little bit of a fight. I know you had talked about the guy prior to the game, Kenyon Drake, guy's fast. They had held him in check mostly up to this point, but right after that, he just busted off a 54-yard TD run, and he was pulling away, from that defense. It's not like he had to, break a whole lot of tackles. He was just running away from these guys. That was a nice run by Drake. I'll have to hand it to him. That was a great run. Pulled the Dolphins within 6 points. I was starting to get a little worried there. I'm like, oh, Jazz, please don't let this happen. Come on, you guys have been dominating all game, and it seemed like one, long run that, the Dolphins were right back in that game. I will hand it to you though. You were on Kenyon Drake, but prior when we talked about the game originally, before the game even happened, saying how you had to really watch out for this guy, and that guy can motor. And did you see anything on that defense? It just looked like the offensive line created a massive hole. There might have been a breakdown in the defensive backfield, missing a gap, but it's not like you really had to, Drake had to break any tackles. It was just the hole was there. He hit it and he was gone. What'd you think about that play?
Yeah, I just want to make this point quickly because, we had the big Golden Tate argument about how important he was. And then as we've been doing these rewinds, I said, man, Golden Tate early on in the year, he was good. He's making little catches and putting up some good stats, scoring touchdowns. Before they kicked that field goal, I think it was after the Kenny G taken away or whatever, Stafford threw a great ball to Golden Tate, kind of had him out open in a flare route, absolutely drops the football. I thought that was something worthy of note. That was pretty much a walk-in touchdown if he catches it and falls backwards and he put it on the turf. So we gotta nick your boy GT for that one, Grifka. But when you're talking about this Drake touchdown, like I have here, just a simple run. I feel like Deshaun Hand, I think, was the guy inside there. He tried to go get Kenyon Drake, and they had a guy come and just absolutely seal him, just a great block that kind of just took him out of the play. And after that, this guy is off to the left sideline. He shows off his speed, and this was that game where we talked about it. Man, this is where Glover looked not like himself. I mean, he kind of had a good angle, but Drake, all he did was give him a half a shimmy, and he kind of stopped his feet, and then Drake just absolutely ran away from him, made him look like he was stuck in mud. So, first kind of sign or another sign early mid-year here that, our boy Glover Quinn just wasn't the same as we were used to seeing from him. He usually always would get that guy to the ground or at least get him out of bounds. He couldn't do either. Kenyon Drake scores a big touchdown to get the Dolphins back in this game.
Yeah, and I agree with you on Glover. I mean, just by watching that, one of those guys that just looks like age just kind of hit him. It wasn't a slow deterioration. It was just like, wow, what happened to this guy? He was making plays last year. He just seemed like you said, stepping and a half too slow, and he wasn't as wasn't there, breaking up stuff and in on making the tackles like he had been in the past. So, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying there. I totally agree with you. And then, so right after that, once again, Lions, they're only up 6, but still, then they get the ball back. And I thought on the next drive, it was one of those drives how we had talked in a prior show, recapping games, that they went into one of those, it was a quicker drive. I mean, I think this play was only 5 or 6 plays on this one. And they ended up, Roberts hitting a 4-yard touchdown pass. But a big thing was what on that drive was, I believe Miami had a pass interference on the drive, which allowed to keep the drive going. Allowed them to get some yards. It just wasn't one of those short ones. So it did help the drive. But once again, Lions were able to respond. Only being up 6, they were able to go down and get the 4-yard TD pass to Roberts, the second one of the game. And it's you said you wish you saw more out of Roberts, and he showed up. His big hands made some nice catches there. Now, the one thing I do want to question though was I know it ultimately didn't matter in the end, was the 2-point conversion try right there. And I know every coach has a sheet saying you should try to do 2 points at this point in the game or at this instance. Were you okay with the 2 points there in the third quarter? To me, it seemed like they might have been chasing points a little early. It seems like it's one of those things I usually kind of wait. Myself, I always think the fourth quarter might be a little better chance to go for the 2-point conversion to go up by a couple scores. But what did you think? I mean, do you think it really mattered at that point with roughly 3 minutes left in the third quarter? I mean, how did you feel about the 2-point conversion try?
Well, I definitely want to talk first about the Big Mike touchdown. You kind of ran it through, which was good. But, I'm really curious, more so than talking about the play itself. This was a second touchdown. I think he ended up with 40-some yards, 2 touchdowns, kind of a middle of the day for yardage for a tight end. But anytime you can get two TDs from that position is great. I'm just so curious on what he will and can be this year. I know when me and you were at training camp, it was kind of like, man, this guy's scoring tons of red zone touchdowns, but he's also super lazy and kind of just, looked like a plodding kind of pedigree type where he's big. He's got the long arms. He's got all the things you look for, but he's just not very smooth when it comes to some elements of the game, whether it be his hustle, his catching of the football, things like that. But like you said, I loved him in the draft process. I think we got him at a good value. So I am just so curious to see what Big Mike, does he get pushed down the draft or down the roster where he's here, but he's only a positional type, plug-in type player? Or do they say, hey, between Big Mike and bringing in another option at tight end, we might have 2 tight ends that can be impactful and can, kind of give us different things. If they get a pass catcher and Big Mike sort of like in the middle, and then they still have a good blocker like your boy Toy Lolo, like that's kind of the mix I think they're looking for at tight ends. But I was calling Big Mike. I wanted to see big things. You had said before this game that, hey, you agreed with me that he was going to score touchdowns and be a red zone factor. He was in this game, so that was great to see. They always talk about this chart that the coaches have of like when you should go for two. We have no idea what's on this chart or what it looks like. It's like the trade chart. Everybody references that. I remember I found a website recently that has like the trade value chart. Actually really use it properly. It's just a bunch of, numbers and algorithms and all this stuff. I mean, to me, trading is just, a feel thing and a value type thing. So you're probably thinking I'm going to say it's the same thing with 2 points. Like you just feel the game. Do you chase? Like, this is where I think you use whatever this chart is. Like, if it tells you to go for two, you don't overthink it, and you just go by this chart because, it does probably have the rules and regs of what worked in the past, what scores make sense to go for it. I would just use whatever the chart says in the second, third quarter, or the end of the game. I say you do it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, I see your point. Once again, I don't know. I always hear people like in the first and second quarter, it's like, hey, if you get a chance to go for two, you should do it. And myself, I mean, I see why it would have done it. Would have put them up by 2 scores, made it even a little harder. But that's one of those things where I don't know. Me being a little more conservative with it, I just always kind of like to wait till the fourth quarter to chase those points. But it's okay. I mean, it ended up not really mattering in the end, anyways. But
real quick, and like chasing points to me is like you're up, a certain amount, and a 2 point doesn't really make a difference. When we look at the score now, like you just said, if it's going to put you up 16, 2 scores, whatever it may be, then yeah, to me, that's not chasing points. That's trying to go up what you should go up, which you should try to go up 2 scores. Kicking a field goal and saying, I don't want to chase points, I'll get it later. I mean, there's no point. Like, you want to go up the 2 possessions, 2 scores, whatever it is. So I think there's a difference between that phrase, chasing points, just because you're doing it earlier versus it makes a big difference if you're up 16 or you're up 14. That does make a difference at the end of the game when you're talking 2 points, putting the pressure on the other team to not only score twice but do two points. I think that is a difference in the game. So, like I said, interesting coaching tactics types things. But hey, man, go by that chart. Get 2 when you think you can get 2 based on it.
Okay. Here we go. Let's move on here. Once again. Nothing too much happened in the rest of the third. Going into the fourth, start of the fourth, we are looking at a 26-14 game. Quarter left, they're up by 12, and like I said, I'll keep bringing it up. Doesn't seem like the heat has been affecting them too much, but I have seen teams other than the Lions, wilt in that fourth quarter heat in either Southern California, Texas, South Florida. So once again, I was happy with the way they were playing, but still a little. Tentative. I didn't think the game was in the bag. The Dolphins were showing some fight, but then.
So Grifka, I hate to cut you off right there, but I had to go on Twitter today and explain the Grifka bell to the people. Which we hit the Grifka bell when you agree with me, when you talk about your NFL conspiracies, when you reference a previous podcast, all that good stuff that you do. So before you keep on with your question, I gotta wonder. You talked about the heat. What happens, Grifka, when an East Coast team goes west?
Oh, for that 4 o'clock start?
Oh, yeah.
It's a body clock, man. That's a long flight, man. Even if you get out there Friday, Saturday, that's a long flight. It's so your body clock's off. You're used to playing football at 1 o'clock on Sundays, and you got to play at 4 o'clock when that team's playing at 1 o'clock. Their body's at 1 o'clock. So it's not an easy thing to do. Same thing when those West Coast teams have to come east and play that 1 o'clock start. Same thing, man.
Right.
I mean,
so it's a time thing, but also you're talking about all this heat. Like, man, when the Lions go out west, it's just got to be an automatic loss, right? Because the heat, the body clock. I mean, for you, it's just an automatic loss.
It's a couple of things that make it harder to overcome. I mean, I'm not calling it. I mean, if you go to like Seattle or like San Francisco or Oakland, I mean, Northern California's climate is not like Southern California, where they used to play in San Diego or Los Angeles. I mean, it gets hot down there, even in Arizona. But the old Arizona, when you have to play in Tempe, I mean, when you're out there playing that, I mean, now they play in the dome, and it's all, obviously air conditioned. It's the regulated temperature, so it's not as bad going there. But even going down to, Texas, playing in Dallas, and I mean, Houston plays in a dome, but still it gets hot down there. And but southern Florida, Miami and Tampa Bay. I mean, those guys are sweating buckets, man. So it takes a lot of energy out of you to go down there and play in that heat. And
Okay.
We get it. Like 50, 55 degree weather. You're going down to play like 80, 85 degree weather with high humidity. That's a tough thing to do.
Grifka, this is where you're supposed to just do your catchphrase, and then we were going to move on. But you're making such a big deal about the heat. Everybody that's listening to the Kool-Aid Cast is going to know that Grifka's going to look for anything that might be an impact for the Lions. The weather's too much, the travel's too much, the this, the that. I always just look, are we a better football team or not than the other team?
Yeah, but
Records are about West Coast Team East. It's all about what you do on that Sunday. So that's all I wanted to get in was a couple Grifka bells and show the people that you have all these weird things that you think about rather than like, are we better than the Dolphins? Yes, and we just go down there and beat them.
Okay, I think it does play into it, but that's just me. So there we go. We'll go into the fourth quarter. The Lions get the ball back. Pretty early in the fourth, put together a shorter drive. What's that? I think what's about 3-4 minute drive, and end up coming away with a short chip shot Matt Prater field goal, going up 29-14, and then but then right after that, the Dolphins, they do their last stand. Once again, like you said, Brock Osweiler, he's not that great. He comes down. They put a nice drive together. They do. I mean, I will admit.
Thank you.
I mean, Brock Osweiler did orchestrate a nice drive. It was a longer one too, if I remember correctly. I think I went back and checked and looked at it. It's roughly about a 4-minute drive because I jotted this down. 6 minutes. 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Danny Amendola catches a 24-yard touchdown pass with the extra point and bring the score to 29-21. Let's see. There's 6 minutes left in the game. Miami's down by 8. They're showing some fight. The crowd, even though it wasn't a packed house, by the way, I looked at them. Still a nice sized crowd in the heat. Started to get a little raucous. Were you worried at any point, or do you still think that Lions had this one wrapped up?
I thought it was a great throw by Osweiler, just an absolutely dime. Great catch by Amendola. So, I mean, it was a good play by them. I mean, yeah, it's getting a bit closer, but I feel like we just played really well. It was going to be really tough for Osweiler to put another drive like that together, another throw. So I felt good about it.
Yeah, and then exactly. It was just, but it was one of those things. It was like one of those things. Seemed like the Lions been dominating all game, and yeah, it was close, but it still didn't seem like the game was that close, even though it was within 8. It's one possession with the 2-point conversion. It just seemed like ultimately the Lions were going to win this thing. It seemed like everything seemed to be going their way. Everything was on their side. So they did get the ball back, obviously, and then it was during the play. I thought Golden Tate, caught a nice short pass and had a nice catch and run right around the 4-minute mark in the game, and that helped with the keep the drive alive. I know we had debate about Golden Tate, and even when I go back, it's like that stuff is things I missed when Golden Tate left the team when he was traded away, and that was one of those things where him and Stafford seemed to have that connection where it was short, nice catch, nice run, a little shifty, picked up some good yards there. I know ultimately we've had discussion. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but as one of those things where Golden Tate, that's what he did for the team when he was on there. But along with that, the Dolphins did have another pass interference. It seemed like their defensive backs were a little grabby, and that helped. I believe during the game they said it might have been not as bad or as what they thought, and it could have been a no call. But still, I will take that any day of the week. That any penalty that helps the Lions. So the lead down, they had the ball a long time. They get ultimately with relatively just short of 2 minutes left. After 2 minutes, Prater bombs a 50-yard field goal, putting the game at 32-21, which pretty much put the game away at this point, I thought. So any thoughts on that final drive leading to the final scores?
Nothing too much. I just thought it was nice that, the game got close. We ended up putting a drive together. absolutely huge field goal by Matt Prater. 50-plus yarder with only 2 minutes left. Put it up 2 scores was big. That's clutch by our field goal kicker. You got to love that. Putting Osweiler, reminding him that he's Brock Osweiler and ending the football game. So I like how they ended it with a little answer. They didn't come down and get a touchdown, got what they needed to, which was a big field goal.
Yeah, 50-yard field goal, putting it away. That's what Matt Prater does. Like you said, I think we always kind of give Matt Prater that carte blanche. He seems like he's always going to make those field goals no matter what. And it seems like every once in a while, it seems like the line's like, oh, we're within his field goal range. We'll settle for that. But still, bombing a 50-yarder on grass down in Miami. And, I would take that. And 32-21 was the final score, but it still didn't seem like even that final score, the game was that close. It seemed like the Lions really dominated this one from start to finish. Yeah, they had a long touchdown run from Kenyon Drake in the third quarter, and then that long drive, midway through the fourth, that really kept them in the game. But I really thought that the Lions, pretty much dominated this one from start to finish. It showed like one of those things, showed like one of those glimpses what the Lions could be, what we're hoping them to be, go on the road, in the middle of the year, a game where, people were questioning, how good would they be on the road? Yeah, they had beat the Patriots at home, they beat the Packers at home. Can they go do something on the road? So winning this game to me was pretty big.
Yep, I agree.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more. All at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, cool. Let's see. I have nothing else really to talk about the game. I do have a couple things I wanted to touch base, though. I know I got into it, when you started to break down the Kerryon Johnson touches, but I think the 3 biggest plays in the game that really show what the Lions have in him. We've seen him, he's shifty, he's quick, he hits the hole pretty hard, but still, what this guy has, what this guy can bring to the table for the team. Don't get me wrong, I don't believe he's an Adrian Peterson type running back, that, going to be the bell cow, is going to get the ball, 30 times a game, something like that. But the first play, or that play right off the first drive, off the edge, showing his quickness. It doesn't seem like the Lions have had a running back like that, since Javid Best. Javid Best had those quicks, but still, it seems like, it was one of those things you're always kind of worried about the hit, giving him another concussion, which ultimately ended Javid Best's career. But still, they haven't had somebody that quick, since Javid Best. I believe Javid Best was a little faster, but still, Kerryon Johnson's able to see the field, and you hit that corner, that edge really hard. Then the next one is that in the second quarter, you brought it up, where he almost housed that one. It was pretty much between the guard tackle. The hole was there. He didn't stutter step, nothing. He got the ball. The hole was there. He hit it, and he was gone. And the only reason he got caught is the defensive back did the right thing. Once a guy breaks, the defensive back is taught, just turn and run to the sideline, take away the pursuit angle. And he almost outran the pursuit angle, but the Miami defender was able to make the tackle. And then the third one, showing his power on the run on that screen pass. He juked a couple guys, and then Kiko Alonso trying to show that he's like big man. Kerryon Johnson just put him to the turf. That's showing his quickness, his vision, and his power on those 3 plays. The Lions have not had a back like that in as long as I can remember. What do you think about it? I've read something that's just like best running back Lions have had since Barry Sanders. I just read that headline today. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, I think you brought up, a lot of good elements from this game that kind of show that. I think that I've been on his side. I knew about him coming into the draft process. You couldn't doubt the production. You couldn't doubt that he played in the SEC's SEC Player of the Year, and I did like sort of where the Lions got him. I just didn't like the trade up because they didn't have many resources. So that was my big thing. If people want to go back and listen to the day after that draft, what I had to say about it, I said, best case scenario is Kerryon's a stud, but we still gave up, I think, a third rounder to move up a few spots to get him. Now that he's played, I think, I was pretty early to say this guy has burst. He can catch. He looks like an NFL running back in uniform. There's just so much to like about this guy. He's 21 years old. Like, that's just crazy young to get a running back that can do it all. It's what we've been looking for. We've been taking all these scat backs. I mean, this is a guy that can bang. He can run away from you. He can catch the screen and make plays. So, in the world of Grifka, he's got more work to do to show us that he can do it over a prolonged period. But if you go back to his high school and his college days and now look what he's doing in the pros, I think it's pretty clear that this guy is going to be a good, solid running back with big upside. And then it'll be up to him in the next 2 years, I'd say, if he's going to be in that top 10 of running backs or if he's going to be in that middle tier, the 15 range. But I think he's got top 10, top 8 potential. But just got to let it see. He can't be hurt all the time, and they got to get him the football. See what this guy can really do if you get it to him 25 times a game, just throw the ball to him and make him a feature back. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's just that's just it. I don't know when today's NFL if they're going to do that, though. I mean, if it's a mix between, I guess, getting him out of the backfield on, wheel routes or out in the flat, get him a pass, or I don't know if they're going to do the 25, handoffs a game, with a few passes out of the backfield. It just seems like in today's NFL, it seems like teams are not willing to do that. Either they think it's going to, grind down the running back too much during the year, but if they can get him 25 touches during the game, that is something I would definitely like to see as well. And then, maybe get like a power back, for, short yardage, something like that, goal line type thing. It seems like what the line's been doing all year, with like Garrett Blunt. But, getting him 25 touches, either, between the run and the pass game. I just don't think the Lions are going to do 25 carries and then, a few pass plays, 5, 6, 7 pass plays on top of that. So, but I would like to see that as well. As you said, I would like to see him to continue to grow and could be, like you said, the best running back on this team since, like I said, since Barry Sanders. So he's not Barry Sanders. He's not even the same, in the same league with him right now. But Barry Sanders was great, and Kerryon Johnson, like I said, still has a little bit of work to do, but he's definitely on the track to be something special on this team.
All right, but Grifka, I got to jump back in real quick because, like, one of my problems with you and the reason we always get in our big arguments because you're just looking at what happened, like, right now in front of your face. Like, you saw what he did. Now we're doing the Kool-Aid rewind, so you're kind of getting to see this guy again and say, wow, he was pretty dynamic. He was better. So you're like coming around more and more because you've seen him do it throughout the year when he was healthy, and now you're seeing it again on the rewinds. My thing is you got to project him forward. We have this new coordinator that's going to put more emphasis on the run game. LeGarrette Blount is not going to be here. Even if they bring in another player to kind of spell this guy, it's pretty dang clear that he's going to be the feature back in Detroit and that this regime wants to feature him and wants to feature the run game. So I don't think you need a short yardage back. Kerryon's your short yardage back. Even if you get a running back that can catch the football, Kerryon Johnson can catch the dang football. I could see him catching, 50 plus passes next year along with a lot of rushing yards. He's that kind of football player. So don't just look at what he did this year. Look at what he's coming into next year, what the roster is going to look like. He is going to be, as Ric Flair would say, the man. Woo! And I can't wait to see it, man. I absolutely can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Just got one other point I want to talk about from this game. I think this is one of, I thought Stafford, like you said, he did have a few passes knocked down, and he did miss a couple throws here and there, and Golden Tate did drop that pass. But I thought he looked pretty sharp, and he seemed to have that swag. I don't know if it was just the practice time from having the week off, being regenerated, being rejuvenated with the week off, having a little extra rest. But he just seemed to have that swag back to him, that stuff that he had in the past that we always kind of were wishing for him to come back. I know games like this can, help lead that to you, but do you think this is one of those things where his success leads to the swag? his swag attitude, or he needs that swag to lead to the success?
Oh, man, my stuff with Matt Stafford is just crazy because I'm such a big proponent. I love the way he throws the football. I love the moxie that he used to have. I love the intelligence I think he does have to be able to lead a team. He's played quarterback his entire life at a high level. Like, he was born basically to play quarterback. The thing I don't like about him is I feel like Matt Stafford, for some reason, everything sort of bugs him. Like, he'll fall down and he'll have like a little bruise on his hip. He's got to be limping around the whole rest of the game. Everyone's like, look at how tough he is. I want him to like not be limping or not be impacted by that, or a little injury to his finger, or hey, I got a glove on, I don't have a glove on. All this stuff seems to like always come into his game where I just need him to get past all that little stuff, throw touchdowns, make plays, and do what he used to do, which was celebrate big after touchdowns. You know, sling the ball around. Hey, you get a couple interceptions here or there. Like, go make more plays than interceptions, and we're all going to be good with it. So I think the swag comes from like everything going right, his guys making plays, him getting protected, everything sort of going well. And I just need to have him have that at all times. Don't wait till the fourth quarter to do it. Do it in the first quarter. Do it when, hey, your finger or hand might be a little banged up, your leg might not be feeling the best. Go out there and show your team that you're the leader, you can make plays, and you're ready to have some fun when you're scoring touchdowns and putting up points. I mean, that's what we need him to do. He's a fifth highest player, I think, in the NFL paid. He needs to play like it. He needs to act like it. I love the guy. I'm still happy he's the Lions quarterback, and I hope he puts another year together. He'll be here for the next 3 to 5 years at a high level and leading our team, if not longer. But the swag has to be there all the time, the energy, the mojo. Everybody looks to the quarterback, and he can't have little things bugging him all the time, or like, hey, I'm going to wait till the fourth quarter to lead our team. It's got to be 4 quarters, every practice, every offseason, everything. And this is a big year for that guy, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. I don't have any questions or anything for you. I mean, just a couple nice discussion points. Once again, thought it was just a nice win, nice important win for the Lions. Show what they can do coming off the bye week, going on the road, and hostile environment, hostile environment, coming out with a big win, showing what the defense could do, showing what the offense is capable of. So that's all I got for this week for this recap of the Miami game. Do you have anything else before we get out of here, Derek?
I'm good, Grifka. It was a heck of a Kool-Aid rewind. I mean, to me, other than the Patriots game, I think this is probably the second best football game of the year for the Lions. Kerryon Johnson's coming out party, 158 yards. So like you said, Stafford played good. This is the team that we got excited about. They're back to 3-3. This is when we thought they were going to like turn that corner and maybe make a run. We're going to do some more rewinds and see that the season goes south due to injury and due to a lot of other things, but it's a heck of a football game. Nobody cares about the weather, Grifka. Nobody cares about the travel. We're a better team. We showed it. We played great. I absolutely loved it. Go ahead and get out of here for this rewind, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. So thank you so much for checking out the Kool-Aid Cast. We're going to see if we can get that mock draft for you, probably coming out over the weekend, so keep an eye on that. If not, we got some more things heading next week to be excited about, and thank you so much for listening to the Kool-Aid Cast each and every week, everybody. You got anything else for the people, Grifka, so I can hit the bell?
Nope.
Hey, that's unbelievable! Congratulations! It's unbelievable!
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.